Good morning, this is Lee with the Right Overnight News video cast. You can links to these stories on my website, therightovernightnews.wordpress.com. These are the stories that are reported over the last few hours for the American conservatives in your early morning. The first story on Zerohedge, originally from the Federalist, is about Sean Davis posing the question, is the Biden administration chasing a war as a way to prop up his poor ratings? It has been done before, so we should not be surprised. The next story is about a mass release of migrant men in Texas that has no real explanation, and as Dan Crenshaw reported, by a recent tweet, this is a flagrant refusal to execute the laws passed by Congress. Apparently these men were being sent by taxi to an airport in some cases, and then they will be flown to places like Atlanta, Miami, and Houston. Next, a story on Zerohedge reported that a woman at Walmart was complimenting the young son of another shopper because of the boy's blue eyes and blonde hair. This woman then offered the mother an amount of $250,000 to purchase her son. As the mother and son went out into the parking lot, the prospective buyer yelled that her bid now $500,000. This is a bizarre story, and apparently, the woman has been arrested by the police. From Breitbart, there's a story about the House Ethics Committee investigating Representative Marie Newman because it appears that she had offered a potential competitor in the Democratic primary a job to entice her not to run for the same office. What I found surprising is that I thought this was something that was commonly done. For example, when Biden was running against Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg, after they lost in the primary, they both were given a job. Curious, don't ya think? Breitbart is reporting about the baseball player Curt Schilling not being considered for the Baseball Hall of Fame, simply because he was recently outspoken on conservative issues. Once again, the woke media is affecting the lives of celebrities that don't toe the liberal line. Another Breitbart story is about a group called the Alliance for Consumers, who have issued a report about how 8 law firms had donated $15 million to Democrat political action committees, suspiciously after a bunch of contracts were awarded to Democrat-affiliated companies. The next story is about Marsha Blackburn criticizing the Biden family for earning so much money, reported to be about $31 million, as mentioned in Peter Schweitzer's just-published book. These earnings, as the author contends, came from business cooperation with Chinese government enterprises. I have not read the book, but I believe if even some of the stories were accurately reported, the Biden family should come under serious legal scrutiny. The EpochTimes writes, based on an AP Wire story, that the USA and Europe are working on plans to supply Europe with natural gas from North America, North Africa, and other regions of the world, in the event that Russia cuts off supplies to Europe. The reader should understand that around 65 to 80% of natural gas that Europe uses come from Russia. If there is any military action, and Russia cut off the flow of natural gas, there won't be enough gas to heat homes in winter. Since I was a former gas trader, I understand the serious nature of this report, but have to admit that it will be very difficult to ship natural gas in the amounts needed LNG ships, or other means. The DailyCaller has a story about an actress, cast member from The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, being fired because of her Facebook post over the last few years where she voiced her conservative views on things like the riots in Seattle. Once again, the woke media and entertainment business is canceling someone because their views are different than the ruling liberals of media. The New York Post has a story about Michael Rapaport, a well-known actor and comedian, filming a shoplifter boldly walking out of a Rite Aid drugstore with a large amount of stolen goods, and acting as if this is no big deal. I am a little bit conflicted by this report because Michael Rapaport has tweeted the most violent and disgusting tweets about President Trump over the last few years, and now he is complaining about problems caused by liberal policies. Let's consider the irony. Ben Shapiro of the Daily Wire just put out a podcast about Biden and Ukraine. I have not listened to it, but it is probably sharp and incisive as Egan normally is. The title is amusing. The rain in Ukraine falls mainly because of Joe Biden's brain. The New York Post reports on what I believe is a very bizarre story where the Washington State School Board wants to remove the book, To Kill a Mockingbird. This is one of the major novels from the 1960s writing about inequality and the racial division that existed in this country. And now they want to remove it. When I hear this type of story, I am thinking that the next big earthquake cannot come too soon on the West Coast, dropping the liberal policies into the ocean. That's a joke, of course. A 12-year-old girl is dead after snorting fentanyl, and the alleged drug dealer, also a teenager of 16 years, has been charged with murder. Fentanyl is a drug that comes from China, either fully constructed or in separate ingredients, and it's largely brought over the border from the south. It is time we really stop this influx of fentanyl, or stop China. The New York Post has a story about 3 officials involved in the Iran nuclear talks that have stepped away, meaning they either quit or were told to stand down because they have been pushing for a much harder line against Iran. But the Biden administration presumably wanted them to go easier in order to make a deal. At least that's my read on the situation. ChelseaGabbard, in an interview with Tucker Carlson, is now on Rumble as a video, and she is lambasting warmongers that are bringing us to the brink of nuclear war. ChelseaGabbard is, in my opinion, someone who is shaking up the system and should be listened to. She's a Democrat, but I think she's got a lot of good things to say, especially because she's critical of the liberal Democrats and the warmongering people like Hillary Clinton. That's all for today, and I hope that these late-breaking, overnight stories interesting. Have a good morning, and this is Lee with the Right Overnight New video. Please my website, therightovernightnews.wordpress.com.